Alright, let me set the context for the video. In this video, we're building Superset or T3 Code from scratch without using AI by hand. Superset is a coding agent orchestrator, which means it is a website, a desktop app, a mobile app through which you can control various coding agents running locally on your machine. So I could have a Devon subscription, a Claude Code subscription, a Codex subscription, and I can use a single Superset or T3 Code UI to create multiple tasks running across these agents parallelly. This seems like the last abstraction of a UI that you need to run multiple agents, especially if you're paying for all of these services, which is very true for most engineers today. Most engineers have at least 2 or 3 of these subscriptions, and a lot of times they use one subscription to code, the other one to review the code. And Superset, which is a YC company, and T3 Code, which is created by Theo, another YouTuber, both are trying to solve this specific problem through 2 different architectures. Thankfully, both of them are open source, and hence we'll understand what are the key differences in their architectures, which one I feel is slightly better, and then we'll finally code the application from scratch. We'll be using React for the front end, TypeScript for the back end, and the agent SDKs that Claude Code, Cursor, Codex provides to orchestrate the final agents on a person's Mac. We'll be using MongoDB as a database. It makes a lot of sense to use a NoSQL database like MongoDB to capture all the unstructured messages that we'll be receiving from the agents and dumping to our database so that we have a history of all the conversations that the user does on their machine. It's a 3-hour video. Most of the things are coded by hand. And in the end, once I was able to create a version 1 of this application, I used that version 1 to improve itself to version 2 using AI. So I was inside my own Superset clone. So it was an application that was constantly improving itself, which was a very interesting recursive inception thing that I did towards the end of the video. By the end, we've created a website that you can host, and then you can run your agents from your Mac anywhere around the world on your phone on a different machine. All you need is one machine alive somewhere that has Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, any of these subscriptions. And from anywhere around the world, you can orchestrate agents on that specific machine from your phone, from a different desktop. I have not created the mobile app or the desktop app for it, even though they should be very easy to wire up. So that's a good to-do for anyone else to try after the video. This video is sponsored by MongoDB. There's a link in the description using which you can try them out. With that and without any further ado, let's get right into it.
Alrighty, let's begin. What we want to build is something like this. This is T3 Code where I can come, add a project. For example, let me add a, local folder, the code base of conductor. I've added a new project that's, one of the workspaces I can work with, and then I can add more sessions inside. For example, I can create a first session. Hi, what does this project do? And the interesting thing is, this is the T3 Code UI, but it works with my Claude Code subscription. So I already have a Claude Code $20 plan. I have a Claude Code subscription using which I can, talk in a specific workspace. But this UI, some people might not like. Some people might want, to use different models in the same UI. For that reason, you can use this $20 plan over here. And right now I'm using Claude, but in the future I can use OpenAI. As long as I have the CLI working, I have the $20 or the $200 plan. I can use one of many providers, be it Grok, be it OpenAI, be it Claude. What does this project do? Again, under the hood, uses my Anthropic subscription, but a different UI for it. And the interesting thing here is that this is a T3 Code led UI. T3 Code has written these components and they sit in the middle between this messaging layer and the agent and parse every message, show it on the UI. By the end, it, whatever, gives me an answer, which is pretty cool. On the other hand, Conductor is a little different. Let me show you Conductor as well. This is what Conductor looks like. And notice in Conductor, even though it's very similar, you have a project, you can start a session over here. I can send hi, does a bunch of things. And then finally, my bad. I was messing a bit with Conductor. Let me fix that. There we go. What does this project do? And now Conductor also uses my Claude Code under the hood, but notice the UI is the actual Claude Code UI. So they don't really parse the individual messages. This is not the best pattern compared to what T3 Code does, because T3 Code can basically inspect all the incoming messages. It's easier for T3 Code to know when a conversation has ended and when to move from a loader to a finished sign. For these guys, they have to do a bunch of optimistic testing, around is the bash responding or not, or trying to figure out what the message is by reading the bash bytes, compared to T3 code, which simply has access to all the messages between you and the agent. And hence, if it knows that the conversation has ended in one of the messages, it knows this specific conversation is done, and you can ask follow-up messages if you want. This is the better approach. This is the one we'll be coding as well. We'll start off with a website. Converting a website to a desktop app, not too difficult. We'll start off by building a website where you can come, select a folder, just like we selected a folder, over here. Start a session, start multiple sessions, and use your local Claude Code subscription for now. And then eventually we can add more providers like Codex, Devin, etc. Let's get into that next. Let's understand the architecture of building it the T3 code way and not the conductor way. All right, let's begin with the architecture. As I said, we're going to build a website first, and then, it's easy to create a mobile app, a desktop app, or a terminal app if you want. So let's start with the very basics. A front end probably in React, which looks very close to T3.code or Superset. So what does T3.code look like? It looks something like this. So very similar. Shouldn't be too hard to code. Should be very easy to wipe code. Once we have that, this front end is going to interact with a backend that pretty much has access to my full machine, right? The thing though is we expect the end user to run this backend locally on their machines. Like whenever we package this up and we give it to a user, they'll install our desktop app or whatever. They need to be running a backend, which is, it might sound counterintuitive, but that's how Codex and a bunch of other coding UIs work, which is or terminal UIs work, which is they have usually a JSON RPC backend, which we can decide if this needs to be a JSON RPC backend. A WebSocket server is what I am probably going to build it as, but JSON RPC works, HTTP works, doesn't really matter. The front end is going to talk to this backend, and this backend is what has access to my machine. This backend is what can read files, write files, read directories. This backend is where the actual agent runs. The agent cannot run on the website. If the Claude Code agent or the Codex agent runs here in the browser, can't really do tool calls to access my files. So it is a given that there needs to be a backend that has access to my machine, that needs to, eventually where we need to spawn an agent. So based on what model the user is using, if they open a UI like this, if they type hi, if this is the first message, we need to spawn an agent for them over here based on what they've selected. If they've selected something like Claude, then Claude Code needs to start. And we're strongly hoping, not hoping, like we assume that they already have the Claude subscription. If they don't, then this is going to break. This agent, it might feel like, it's hard to start the Claude Code agent via Node.js or Python. But thankfully, Claude Code has, and even everyone else, Claude Code, Codex is anyways open source. And even these guys, Cursor guys, Devin, everyone, I don't know about Devin, but Cursor has open sourced their agent. So has Claude Code. So you can always write, you can always import at Anthropic AI/Claude Code, Claude Agent SDK. This basically is their coding agent. And, any query that you send over here, XYZ tools that you give it access to, it'll do the same thing as it would if you were running it through the Claude Code terminal UI. So if you want to create a separate front end for Claude Code, they sort of make it easy for you to do. Same is true for Codex, same is true for Cursor. Same probably is true for Devin as well, now that I think about it. So most coding agents have a way for you to run them not through the terminal, but also through, interacting with it through an agent. They have an SDK that they've open sourced. That's what we start. So, very close to this query will run whenever a user starts a message, and any follow-up message will go through the same query. When you do send a query like this, there are a bunch of messages that the agent is going to give you. For example, it might read a file, write to a file, give you a message output, think for a bit, things like these. All of these messages we need to parse really well, and this will be very different for various coding agents. This will be the harder bit, basically. Once we do that, the agent message that we're reading, so basically this loop is going to run here. That is what the agent is, and whatever message we're reading, what is being logged over here is what needs to be sent to the front end, so that the user actually sees what the agent is doing, which could be, reading a file, writing a file, thinking, sending you a message, etc. In the process, we also want to dump all of this into a database. The database of choice today is going to be MongoDB, and MongoDB makes a lot of sense for this. Can you tell me why in chat? Why does MongoDB make sense or a NoSQL database make sense here? Because the structure of the messages that you're getting is going to be very weird, right? There'll be various types of messages that the agent is going to return. Specifically defining the schema for this would be really hard in an SQL database. The other benefits of MongoDB come along, which is, it scales horizontally, etc., etc. And hence, at the very least, we need to have one collection over here called, you can call it messages or, agent history, something like this, where we don't worry about the schema. We simply, it doesn't matter what the schema is. The message could be anything. We take the full JSON blob and dump it over here, message after message, so that if I do close this website, refresh it, restart, I have the full message history over here. As you receive these messages, they need to go into the database. They also need to go back to the front end. Does this MongoDB database run locally or on the cloud is a different question. Some services do run it on the cloud. That way, I always have this history of things that I've done if I change my machine in the future. It also might not make sense because if I have a new machine, most probably it's not going to have a lot of these projects, and hence, this history doesn't make too much sense. So it's a little debatable if the MongoDB server needs to be on the cloud. Superset, I think, does have it on the cloud. But again, there are pros and cons here. You may not want to store it on the cloud. You may want to store it locally. It totally depends on you. Great. These messages will be streamed from the backend. So, there's a very big question of, should we keep hitting MongoDB once we receive every stream message? Should we only dump it when we get a full JSON message? I mean, the answer probably is going to be, as we receive one big thinking block, one big file read, etc., we should dump them one by one into MongoDB and not stream to MongoDB. That will get a little, mostly counterintuitive. The database only needs to be hit when you come to the page and refresh. So it's fine, if you don't need to stream messages here. You do need to stream messages here, which is why I strongly want to use WebSockets here. But most coding agents don't use WebSockets. They use HTTP with server-side events. But I'm just curious to probably to try this approach. So I'm just going to use WebSocket as our backend. So our backend is probably not going to have any HTTP. Pure WebSocket server that the front end connects to. Of course, in the process, the agent is talking to the LLM, but it's all black boxed for us. We are simply using the Claude SDK. We are assuming the user has already logged into their Claude Code subscription, and hence we don't ever worry about hitting the LLM costs. The user has already bought the model or the subscription, and they're just, we're giving them a different UI for it. It's not, I hope you understand, this is not like a product like Devin, where you have multiple models through which you run the Devin agent. This is one layer on top of it. You already have the Devin subscription, you already have the Anthropic subscription, and then you're just giving them a fresh UI. The reason this architecture is good is because if in the future we want to create a mobile app, it should be very easy. We already have the WebSocket server. We just need a different UI for this. Now, the place where this gets tricky is that mobile apps don't run locally, right? The backend right now is exposed on localhost : whatever 3000, and the front end can hit it because front end is also running locally. If you want to build something like remote control that Claude Code has, where a mobile app somewhere on the internet around the world is able to control a machine, then this architecture doesn't work because this machine cannot discover localhost : 3000. This is where it breaks a little. And then you either have to tunnel traffic over here, somehow expose the WebSocket server on the internet, or you have to do what remote control does, which I think is this backend connects to a real WebSocket server. When I say real, I just mean internet-facing WebSocket server. And so does this guy. So it acts as a relay between them. And that's what happens. This backend is a WebSocket client over here. This backend is a WebSocket server for this guy. Any message that you want to send, let's say you want to send hi, you send that as a WebSocket client to this WebSocket server. And this WebSocket server forwards it to this guy as a WebSocket client. And then this is a WebSocket server. This is also client. This is also client. Both of them connect to it. I send a hi, forwards the hi over here. Any message that comes from the agent here comes back to me. That is how remote control in Claude Code works. If you ever tried it, what is remote control in Claude Code? I mean, something like remote control. Oh, seems like it's only available for whatever enterprise. Pretty sure I've used this in the past. on the $200 plan. I have the $20 plan right now, so it doesn't work. But what it does is if I type remote control here, it gives me a URL that I can go to, claude.ai/remote control/ and a hash. And then I can message over there. It controls my machine. It's a way to control your local Mac machine from the internet if you ever go out somewhere, and want to start it. Codex went one step ahead. One thing that people, it's a little bit of a sidetrack, but one thing that you struggle with is if I do go out for drinks, I probably want to shut my machine. And then what happens is the agent might decide the machine might shut down, right? I think Codex, someone told me this, I could be wrong, so just proofread, now takes some access on your machine that can actually make your machine alive. So if you do have remote control on Codex and you type hi on a mobile, it can actually make your machine alive and start the event over there. I don't know if that happens or not, but I think it's true on Mac. Google it. Either way, we're not building the mobile app right now, so keeping things simple, a WebSocket layer, a front end, and then eventually a desktop app, which is just going to be a wrapper on top of the front end, like an Electron wrapper of sort. Shouldn't be too difficult to build the desktop app eventually. I like the front end even more. Just start the project, go to localhost 3000, you have a website, you can control your agents, various types of agents from the website. Cool. Let's begin. I think the harder bit is going to be this. Let's start to code. Let's initialize a WebSocket server. Let's initialize a front end. Let's write everything minus the agent. So, let's create workspaces, sessions, and then, if you type hi, the message should reach over here. The server should be able to respond back. So let's build a very simple ping pong. You send a hi, it goes to the database, it gets responded back with a hi. And then we'll work on the agent layer. So the easier part first, easier part being everything minus spawning the Claude Code agent. That includes writing a front end, building a UI like this, sidebar, workspaces, like I'm going to call these top level things workspaces, and then sessions inside them. You can create a workspace, you can create multiple sessions, you can send hi. The server can, respond back with a hi. Things are stored in the database, everything minus the LLM and the coding agent. Let's build that next. Alrighty, time to code a little. Simplest CRUD app ever. वैसे तो use AI if you want to. I am not going to. It's been a while since I've written code myself, so I'm going to write the code from scratch. You should follow along. And I mean, if you're a very beginner, I would urge you to code along with me and get comfortable with the syntax. If you feel like this is very easy, the CRUD part, feel free to fast forward and get into the final agent bits. Let's get right into it. I'm going to create a new repository. I'm going to call it code aggregator. It's like a bad word for it. What would I name my project? This is where I'm going to spend most of my time. Ag code is fine, I guess. I'm going to initialize a new turbo repo in here. So Banex create turbo at latest, if I'm not wrong. npm create turbo at latest should also do it. Now I would select this folder to initialize the turbo repo bun as the runtime. There we go. Going to open this in cursor. It has two default front ends. We will need one front end, even though I'd like to stick to React. So I'm going to get rid of both of these. I'm going to initialize a backend for now, and then maybe a front end as well. We're only going to focus on the backend for now, and then in the next part, we'll probably create the front end. I'm going to go to the backend, cd apps/backend, run init. And then I'm going to now, do we need an HTTP server? We don't. We only need a WebSocket server. So bun add WS, import. I think I need the types as well. Import WebSocket server from WS, const server equal to new WebSocket server, and server dot on connection. There we go. Been a while since I've written this, but I do remember this. As the front end creates a connection to the backend, we are going to now handle a bunch of messages, dump them in the database, which basically means we need a database next. Let's do that. Let's start to initialize the database and add a bunch of dependencies. What I'm thinking is, does it need to be a separate package in packages, or can it be part of this top level app? Because you'll probably not have more than one backend. It makes sense, I guess, for now to initialize it separately. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to create a new package, call it db bun init bun add mongoose at type/mongoose. And I'm going to go to the second index.ts, import mongoose from mongoose, export const. What schemas do we have? We have workspaces. So workspace equal to new mongoose.schema. I feel every workspace is going to have a path that will be a string, maybe a name that will just be, the folder name should work. Will of course have an ID by default. And is that it? Probably all we need for now. Every workspace will have a bunch of sessions. Every session will have an array of conversations, which, yes, let's just keep it here. Conversation, which is going to be an array of JSON. How do you describe JSON in Mongoose? I'm not sure. This probably is incorrect. I probably need a slightly more complicated object, but this is fine for now. And a workspace ID, which is going to be a reference to the workspace. Yeah, time to look at some Mongoose docs. Mongoose ref. Stories type object ID ref story. There we go. So workspace type mongoose.schema type object ID refs to workspace. There we go. And arrays. JSON array in Mongoose is what we need. And the answer is nothing here. Okay. Cheating. Thing is, it can be any. Mongoose has an any type. I feel mongoose.types.any type in Mongoose. There is, I feel, something like this. New schema, not that. Okay, a little bit of cheating again. This might be it actually. Array of object. We'll confirm in a bit, but I think that should do it. Workspace has a path and a name. Session has a conversation, which is an array of objects, which will get very complex, right? This object can be a user sending a message, an LLM sending a tool call, an LLM actually sending a message, an LLM reasoning, things like these. So the schema of this is very undefined at the moment. And then at some point in our application, we should add schema validation using Zod. We'll get there when we get there. For now, I'm going to export the models. So export const session model equal to session dot or mongoose dot model the name of the model, so workspace, and the second thing, which is going to be the schema, is going to be workspace. That's one, and 2 is going to be workspace model. There we go. Workspace model, session model. I think that's it. Let's confirm by doing a, wait for it, mongoose dot, actually that should be it. That's all I need to do here. That's the package, which is the DB package. Inside package.json, I'm going to add an export, which is going to be /:index.ts. Go back to apps/backend/package.json. I'm going to add a dependency to DB star. That means the specific workspace, cd bun install to install all the dependencies again. And now we should hopefully be able to import DB here, or import things like import mongoose from mongoose. Let me do a bun add mongoose at types/mongoose in the backend as well. Mongoose.connect process.env.db_URL, which I'm going to add to .env and .env.example. How do you start MongoDB locally? Do I have Docker running? I do. How do you start MongoDB locally using Docker? Docker, Mongo. I think it should be as simple as Docker run interactive -- network some network -- rm mongo. Doesn't have to be that difficult. Okay, what's the image? Mongo Docker run Mongo, and the port at which it starts by default is 8081. I don't know about that, but let's see. Seems to work. Does it actually work though? I'm going to open MongoDB Compass, which I don't have locally, do I? What's the best way for me to connect to MongoDB now? Probably MongoDB Compass. Let me download it. Connected. Cool, seems to work. Now I'm going to replace the DB URL with the same thing as this guy, which is, I think it should be as simple as this: Mongo DB : / this. I could be wrong. Would connect this thing, and let's do a ws.on message console.log message, and then maybe db dot or what is it, create, what's the schema, workspace, not from here but from here, package.json /client./client. There we go. Workspace dot क्या होता है MongoDB में create add workspace model dot create. There we go. And what do we need? The path, which is going to be something random, and one more thing, which was the name, which is going to be something random. Cool. Let's see, does that work? Let me start another terminal. cd apps backend one-index.ts does not start because
one eternity later.
All right, that took like a long time to fix. This is a new issue in Mongoose recently, and the fix is simple enough. There's an underlying library that it depends on, bson. We need to update its version to 7.2.0, and that's exactly what I've done here. So if you look at my package.json now, I have another dependency bson version upgraded. I mean, you see these from time to time. Feel free to use AI to fix it. Feel free to, break your head with issues over here and figure it out. Now, at least this was working. Let's see if the top level app works. Bunindex.ts. Hi there. Long running connection. That is good. Question is, did something get created? Well, to create something in the database, we need to create a connection and send a message. Oh boy, my Postman isn't working. What's the best way for me to create a WebSocket connection? I think Requestly also might not be working. Let me confirm. Yeah, they did something recently. Postman is dead, most probably for me. Yeah. Well, let's just write a script, honestly. What I'm going to do now is initialize the front end, create a WebSocket connection from there, send a message. So if you really want to test it, why not test it ourselves? So go to the front end. Let's do npm create wait at latest to initialize a fresh React project. npx create wait at latest, initialize a React project, wait. npm create wait at latest लिखा तो यही था यार. All right. Is my bun create wait at latest going to create it over here? React as the framework, TypeScript as the language. They have a new linter. Oh, excellent. I'm going to stick to ESLint, and then no need to start. All right, bun install. We have a WebSocket. We have a front end initialized now. In the top level app.tsx, let me delete everything. Let me simply return a hi there here and const ws comma set ws equal to use state new WebSocket connection to localhost colon 3000, and let's do a use effect ws if ws dot send hi there. Alrighty, that should do it hopefully. Bun dev, let's start the front end, and this should hopefully send a message to the backend. It did not, so let me right click, inspect network, refresh. Don't see any WebSocket connections to localhost colon 3000. Why would that be? WebSocket connection failed. Otis 3000. Why? Oh, my bad. ws colon / that's on me. This failed as well though. Oh, server is crashed. Let me restart, refresh. Oh, there we go. Hi there came. Refresh again. Oh no, hi there came. Still okay. Beautiful. That shouldn't be too difficult. ws.on open equal to this. Beautiful. Should work this time. Refresh, and now the server does receive a message that hopefully means when this component rendered, it sent a message to the backend, which means the backend control reached over here. We logged the message as well. We hopefully created something in the database. How can we confirm? Oh well. I never really connected to the database, did I? And on the database, I should probably add a collection name, which I'm going to call it 𝗟𝗶_code. All right, let's see bunindex.ts. Let me refresh, and now received the message. We need to be sure, does this connect or not? .catch console.log e. Hello, आ गए भैया आप? आ रहा हूँ. No error. That means what? That means it's probably connected. So let me quickly check MongoDB Compass, and I do see 𝗟𝗶_code, and I do see workspaces, and I do see 2 objects in there. So CRUD is done. And we still have to connect the front end, the back end, decide the message types. But the database is wired up. That means you should also do something like this. .then is when we should start the WebSocket server. So something like this. Cool. Alrighty. Think we're getting there. We have a WebSocket server initialized only after the connection to the MongoDB, database is initialized. Any incoming message, we're simply creating a workspace for now. Now we need to define the message types that we have. On the front end, we need to have a sidebar. We need to add, a way for the user to get. We probably need an HTTP server now that I think of it. User might want to get their sessions as well, right? We can do it via WebSocket also. Let's stick to WebSocket. Let's define all the message types. Let's make the frontend and backend functional. Again, minus the AI agent, minus all of that. Everything else should be functional. User should be able to create a workspace, create a session inside the workspace, send a message, receive a message. Let's get into that next. Alrighty, let's continue. Let's now start to define how the backend is going to talk to the frontend. And this is where we will see a new common backend package that will have the types that need to be shared between the frontend and the backend. So I'm going to create a new package called commons. CD packages common, one init. Here I'm going to define all the Zod types. The reason I use Zod is because it'll help us with type safety eventually. You can also define types, it's fine, doesn't really matter at this scale. Let me go to common/package.json. Let me add Zod as a dependency. Let me go to index.ts, import z from Zod, export const. What are the messages? Create workspace, which would have, the file or, path, I guess. And then one more thing, which is going to be the name of the project. Will that come as an input though? Probably shouldn't come as an input, right? The path should come as the input. The folder name can just be the name. So no need for that to be the input. We'd also export the type, create workspace schema type equal to z.infer, if I'm not wrong, type of create workspace schema. There we go. This will be the concrete type that we will use on the front end. This will be the schema validator for the backend. Create workspace, export const, create, what's the other thing? Create session schema equal to z.object. Do we need any inputs here? Probably not. User just wants to create a new session and that's it, right? Oh, the workspace ID. So workspace ID, which will be z.string. And that should do it. Export the type. Cool. Do we need anything else here? Okay. That's good enough. Go to, we will need messages eventually, right? Yeah. So let's add export const create message schema. So whenever the user wants to add a new message or add message schema, maybe the user will send a session ID and the message. There we go. And then of course we need the type inference as well. Beautiful. This is one thing you should do. We're spending a lot of time writing these types, but they'll make our lives much easier when we eventually write the front end and the back end. That should do it for now, I think. Yeah, we can add more. Oh, we need more types here when we reach the agent, because the agent is going to send, weirdest schemas. We should also validate those, but we'll reach there when we reach there. Let's export /types /index.ts. There we go. And now if I go to apps/backend/package.json, I will add this as a dependency. This is going to be commons/types. And we need this on the front end as well, but we'll reach there when we reach there. Bun install commons. Oh, sorry, this will just be commons. And now I can go to index.ts. I can import, what do we need? Create workspace schema from commons. There we go. /types. Cool. And this concrete schema can be used everywhere. Now we should write a slightly well-structured message handler. The user is going to send us a message, const parsed message equal to json.parse message.toString. Message is in bytes, toString converts it to strings, parse it up. If there's any error in parsing it, means the user did not send us valid JSON, and hence we can skip it. Log it maybe. User sent incorrect non-JSON format input, and then maybe log what the user sent. Probably means the user is, trying to hack our thing or something. Cool. But if everything is good, what should happen? This is where it's always a good idea to create singleton classes. I repeat, whenever you have WebSockets, right? What is happening is this WS object is going to be alive for a while until the user disconnects. You can leave it as such. You can write a lot of spaghetti code over here. Always a good idea to add like a user manager, a session manager, so that there's a little more structured. For example, over here, whenever the user connects, a new WebSocket connection is created, you should have some sort of a user manager that creates a new user. So I'm going to create a user manager.ts, export const user manager, constructor, class. And this will have an array of users as an input. Again, not something you will see very often because rarely do you write backends that are stateful, but WebSocket backends are stateful. The WebSocket object over here is state. Persisting it, there are bad ways of doing it, good ways of doing it. This is a better way of doing it. Interface, user. A user ka hoga socket object, the actual, WebSocket object, which I think needs to come from the library. Or this might work, I don't know. Does it have a website? It does. I think this is the right type. There is another WebSocket object by default, but that's the default WebSocket JavaScript object you use on the front end. On the back end, since this connection is made by this library, this type will be WebSocket that probably comes from this library. We can confirm the instance type. Yeah, it does come from this library. I could be wrong, actually. I'm not reading very deeply into this. We'll see. Most probably, I think I'm right. Cool. So whenever a user connects, all you have to do is user manager .add user or something like that, which means user manager should probably be a singleton. It'll be used in a lot of places. So make the constructor private. This dot users equal to empty array, and then static get instance return if private instance user manager dot instance that isn't it, right, man? How do you write singletons? Private static instance, correct. Dot instance exists, then simply return user manager dot instance, else user manager dot instance equal to new user manager. Should do it. Yeah, that should be fine. Now all I have to do whenever the user connects is user manager dot get instance dot add user, which will be a function I define where the WebSocket object is an input. So let me add a method here called add user, whose job is simple. This dot users dot push socket WS. That should do it. And now should not be undefined. It should almost always return user manager. There we go. And now in the add user method, after we do this is when we do this. And ws.on disconnect. Yeah, close over, I think. I'm going to remove the user. So it's going to be this dot users equal to this dot users dot filter xx dot socket is not equal to ws. That should do it. We'll clean up the user object if the WebSocket connection ever closes. If you receive a message, is when we need a bunch of message handlers, right? So we can simply be like this dot message handler parsed message. Although we should create a separate user class, ideally. Yeah, we should probably wait. If this was an LLD interview, guess what I'm doing next? I will create a separate user.ts, export class user. Constructor takes the socket as an input. Import from WS. And this dot socket equal to socket and private socket, WebSocket. And here there should be like a user.message handler, I feel. Handle incoming message, and यहाँ पे हम types डालेंगे, which right now we have two types of messages. Either create, let's go to commons. Message can either be this thing. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Will not be very easy. Export const incoming messages equal to incoming message type equal to either this type or this type or this type, and here we're going to have incoming message type and incoming message. Whenever a message comes, we check. What do we check? Category mein like there's probably a cleaner way to do this. We'll reach here when we reach here. Let's finish the rest of it. User manager. What I'm going to do here is not this now, but this new user, or const user equal to new user WS. Don't need this type. Don't need this type anymore. And here I'm going to do user.message handler or handle incoming message. There we go. This is going to be user. That looks cleaner. It's going to be user. Ideally, every user should have an ID. Every connection should have like a UUID. So over here, I'm let me do that. Const ID equal to UUID. CD apps backend bun add UUID v4. I think import UUID from UUID v4, and here I can simply do this. I feel return the string. Beautiful. And every user should also get like an ID. This dot ID equal to ID. Debatable if the ID should initialize over here or outside, but let's leave it like this for now. Alrighty. Now this can simply be x dot ID is not equal to ID. Good day. Let's make this public. Good to go, G. Almost. Okay. Money came in my wallet. Express user manager has a bunch of things. Get instance at user. Beautiful. Good to go. Now comes actually handling the user message. Here, yeah, we still get like very complicated. I underestimated how difficult it's going to be. The thing is, I could have two websites open, all with the same session. So both should receive the session updates, right? That is where this will get a little tricky. We'll reach there when we reach there. Let's keep it simple for now. Based on incoming message, abhi hame database mein dalna hai, so let's keep it simple. Yeah, I think इसकी type बदलनी पड़ेगी. It will be something like this. Type create workspace payload, this thing. And this can actually be a const. Yeah, that should be fine, I feel. Does it need to be a type? Thinking, guys, thinking. We need the type here as well as the verifier here. Okay, this will be a type. Type, and then this will be create session. And this will be this thing. Add message. Cool. All right, this will be incoming message type now, and then if message dot type equal to add message से नहीं, पहले create क्या है तीनों, create workspace से चालू करते हैं. If it is create workspace, what would we do? We would create workspace schema dot save parse message const success comma data equal this thing. Only if the schema is correct do we continue. So we stop right there. All right. If not success, return. Should we log? Maybe. Abhi ke liye good hai. Else we would do await workspace model dot create path would be data dot path and then name. Model names ये तो नहीं था, क्या था यार? Workspace model has name and path, right? हाँ, तो name would be data dot path dot subster, you know, dot split slash of last, so dot pop. This thing, right? So data dot path will be something like this: slash user slash 𝗟𝗶𝗀 slash projects slash quickie, and then this will just be quickie. Good to go, G. Good to go. All righty. And this will be an async function. As the first one, you create this and then what? Should probably return the user some sort of an ACK, right? Create it so that वो front end में उसको actually दिखा पाए. 1 second. No food's coming. And then, so yeah, we should respond back with an ACK. Let's add a bunch of outgoing messages now. So we have these types. Ideally split them up. So let's do that. Let me do incoming. When I say incoming, I mean incoming messages to the backend. Export star from dot slash incoming. Export star from dot slash out. Could have sworn I added outgoing somewhere. Outgoing packages में ही डाल दिया. Crazy. Outgoing.ts and then let me delete it from here. Good to go. Here I'm going to export const. Now the other set of schemas. So when you send create workspace, it will respond back with workspace created. So something like this: workspace created schema. It'll return you an ID, I think, of the workspace. That should be fine. We don't need the type. We actually might not need this, but let's still keep it. Schema and type. And then the other one would be workspace creation and session created schema will look very similar. The message created schema can it be similar? Probably can. Yeah, good to go. Cool. So now we need to respond back with क्या हो गया तो डाल दिया. What is the problem? My tripping typo था क्या? Outgoing अब सही हो गया. Outgoing. Oh, just the LSP. Q going back to here. No. User manager. Good to go. Handle incoming message, and this guy should respond back with now this dot socket dot send. फिर वही. So one more thing we need to change is export type message added or outgoing messages equal to incoming से ही छापते हैं guys. So yeah, incoming message type वैसे ही outgoing message type. Outgoing message type would be workspace created session created and then message added. Same ही है वैसे, but again I'm being overly strict with types so our life is easier later. Alrighty, now I'm going to do a so वही है. This would probably be something like this. Every incoming message will probably have a corresponding outgoing message type. Promise. And for the first one, this is going to be ID, जो भी ID बनी है. So const workspace equal to this thing and then workspace dot underscore ID. Beautiful. तो दूसरे केस में क्या होगा? दूसरे केस में it will and yeah here now we need to throw an error. Throw new error. Incorrect schema because the return type now is promise of this thing, right? Needs to be either this thing or it should throw an error. No third thing. Create workspace created. तो इसके बाद क्या है? ऐसे दो और चाहिए. One for message added, one for the third one, which was session create, I think. So yeah, create session schema. सेशन का क्या होगा? सेशन में कुछ नहीं था, आई थिंक. आ गया आईडी थी वो हमने डाली है वहाँ. डालिए वर्क स्पेस आईडी. देखना जरा वर्क स्पेस मॉडल कॉन्वर्जेशन वर्क स्पेस. हाँ तो वर्क स्पेस रेफरेंस को कैसे डालते हैं यार? वर्क स्पेस रेफ डेटा डॉट रेडी. सही है, आई थिंक ये सही है. विल सी. And conversation would just be an empty array for now. Oh, will it? It wouldn't be an empty array, would it? Session बनाया है तो message भी तो भेजोगे. Create session. हाँ. No, it's just a button press. Never mind. So it'll be empty. Good to go. And then send back I would call this. Okay. Session. Add message. There we go. In this case, create message, add message, schema.save parse this thing if everything is good. Put it in the DB. So it's going to look something like dot update one where होता है इसमें? Where ID is data dot workspace ID, session ID, correct. Oh, sorry, it'll be session model. एंड देन मैसेज में पुश करना है ना अब. सेट अपडेट इन Mongo. Goose. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's it. Is it as simple as this? Conversation push data dot message. अब इतना simple नहीं होगा. This will be something like type user or side user, something like that, and then payload message this thing. So we should also define the types of messages जो उधर से आएंगे और इधर से आएंगे. That users will send and that the assistant is going to send. Their schemas need to be well defined क्योंकि वही things can go crazy if they're not. अभी के लिए I've not done it. The user, the user type looks something like this. Payload will have a message, will be a string, then type user. That's one. But you can make more. We'll eventually add more types. अब ये error आ रहा है. Expected 2 to 3 arguments got 1. Why? वही मेरे को लग रहा था कि इतना easy तो नहीं होगा. Update 1. Filter update. Okay, so sounds good. Filter हमें पता है. Update हमारा ये है. इसकी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. I think this should do it. Filter update. Beautiful. And return. Probably the new message ID. Message doesn't have an ID, does it? इसको भी fix करते हैं. But for now, let's just return ID 1, something like this. Cool, good to go. ठीक है जी. One more thing we have to do is handle incoming message. जब भी call होगा, dot then payload this dot और WS को कहते हैं, but this dot user dot ये क्या user manager है? User manager को करने दो. So user dot और socket इसका private है. ठीक है, let's not do that. Let's maybe do that. I don't know. Conflicted. Await. Const response payload equal to this thing, and then I guess it's fine. Let's just do it here. It's going to be WebSocket object यहाँ भी है, but ideally I should use the user dot socket dot something. But ठीक है. और let's do this. User dot send message डाल देते हैं. Async send message, and then this is going to have the payload, which is always going to be outgoing message type. इसमें क्या issue है भाई? अब अच्छा end में throw new error incorrect schema, input schema, something like that. Still there's an error. Oh, no more errors. And this has to simply do this dot socket dot send payload, and I think stringify करना पड़ेगा because only strings can be sent, and I think we're good to go, guys. We're good to go. इसकी जरूरत नहीं है. Oh, then you'll do a user dot send message response payload. Good to go, जी. Done. I think we have everything. Add user, any incoming message, you send it to a handler, and then whatever response you get, you send it back to the user. That is good. अब assistant आएगा तो things will get complicated. अब इसका front end लिखो बैठ के, which it's time for me to eat my food now. So will Harkirat write, or will Harkirat ask AI to write? I don't know. We'll see. I think there is a little bit to learn in writing the front end, specifically, how do you send messages? How do you receive messages? Do something with them on the UI. But other than that, do I really want to write the front end, the sidebar logic, things like these? I don't know. I'm contemplating. We will see. I'm going to eat food, come back and decide. Backend, I think, is done. I've not tested it. I don't have Postman to test it. But I think it should work. एक आधा bug होगा. Front end is next. Front end हमें लिखना है. And I would like to vibe code at least the UI part. So I'll create like a very bad sidebar, a very bad conversation UI, and then, thank you, Opus 4.8. I'll see you next. I'll see you when we write the front end next. WebSocket part backend is done. Again, everything minus the assistant.
All right, let's continue. We've finished the backend. If I remember correctly, we have a WebSocket server where a user is added here. We get incoming messages. We've defined the payload for them. And whatever response we get back, we send back to the user. That sounds good. What we want to do now is write the front end. So that basically, I mean, I would really like to vibe code this. I'll write a few parts and create an ugly version. Then we'll just clean it up in a second. Generally, when I have to define a WebSocket connection, I create a separate hook called use socket. So let me do that. Sorry guys, new keyboard. It should be fine. Return something like this, and not do this. Let's do a set ws, and then let's probably also do loading comma set loading. True followed by something like this. Now we can simply do const. This does work, but create some sort of a singleton. The thing is, it'll keep reconnecting across different connections. It's something we don't want, but chalo, let's just stick with this for now. Do we need it here, or do we need a separate page? No, I think a single page is fine, right? Just opens up, it has everything. Yeah, should be fine. So const loading comma socket equal to use socket, and now if loading, just show something like a loader. If not loading is when we need to create sidebar that shows the projects and right side that has the chat, right? So how do you do that? We'll create a div class name equal to, do we have Tailwind here? We don't, it seems. That is not good. I initialized a React project without Tailwind. Yeah, seems like it. That is not great. It's easier to re-initialize the project with Tailwind than writing it yourself. So you only have like one hook file that I'll have to rewrite. I'll just copy this. Other than it's an empty project. So I think I can do this. I can just get rid of the front end and recreate a fresh one, which has Tailwind installed by default. Otherwise I'll have to go through the process of wiring it up, which isn't too difficult but not very easy either. So let me just delete the front end folder. Hopefully I don't have anything there. I didn't really commit things. Front end, cd front end bun init with React with /cn plus Tailwind, and then it'll just wire up a fresh React project which has Tailwind and /cn installed, which is exactly what we want. Here let me create a new folder called hooks. Let me add a use socket.ts, and there we go. That should do it. Now let me, yeah, it's fine. Go to app.tsx, get rid of mostly everything here, and do something like const loading comma socket equal to use socket. And now same thing. If loading, then simply return loading. If not loading is when we return a div which has two sides. So class name equal to flex, and then div class name equal to flex -1 for the sidebar, and then another one for flex -6 for the right hand side. Let's probably have like a sidebar that takes whatever 1/7 the width. So let me put sidebar here and then chat window here, and let's see if it works. Let me do a bun dev on the front end. Go to localhost 3000. Let's see what the UI looks like. I see loading, and then it doesn't really go beyond it because the backend is down. Let me start the backend. Refresh. Why would the WebSocket connection not connect? Refresh. WebSocket connection to localhost 3000 failed, even though the backend is up. Oh, MongoDB is down probably, I would assume. I think the control, but it would have logged the error though. Mongoose connected. Start it again, refresh, and so Mongoose never connects, which is, oh yeah, there you go. That's a very big MongoDB error. Yeah, I think I just need to restart MongoDB locally, which I have done in the past. I'm assuming it's as simple as doing this. There we go. Let me run it in detached mode, so it just runs in the background. My bad. There we go. One index.ts, and now a different error. Port 3000 in use. Kill process on port Mac. Something is hogging my port 3000. Alright, don't need colon, my bad. Kill -9. That should do it. There's something running on my port 3000. I've stopped it, restarted. Perfect. Mongoose connected this time. So now if I go to the front end, I need to also one config, I would assume. Somewhere in the front end is also starting on port 3000, which is bad. So let me quickly fix that by going to, wait for it. Search for 3000. There you go. There you go. No, none of these. Package.json of front end maybe. Maybe I can add, oh, there you go, source/index.ts. So this file right here, and somewhere here there must be a port. There isn't one, but I'm sure I can specify port here, 3001. I can't. Punserve. How do you give the port as an input to the serve function here? Options. Okay, again, a little bit of guesswork here, but I would hope this does it. Nope. Oh, there you go, port 3000. 3001, and now let's try a bundev. Let's go to localhost :3001, and there we go. Sidebar chat window, one below the other. That is not great. Either Tailwind is not working, or I've written very bad Tailwind. Flex-1 तो चलता है, Flex-8 का पता नहीं. कुछ भी नहीं चल रहा अभी तो. All right. Let's see if the Tailwind styles are coming or not. Yeah, I don't see any Tailwind styles here. Why would, oh, import / I deleted some things I shouldn't have. Global, what is the CSS file? Index.css. Where does it exist? Where is the CSS file? Oh, पीछे हो गई ना थोड़ी, my bad. //index. अब इससे पीछे थोड़ी होगी. app.tsx is in source CSS. Yeah, where I use her. Right next to it, /index.css. What am I missing now? There you go. Also in index.css, I don't think I need any of this, most probably. Yeah, I don't need any of that. This much is good enough. And to build errors, there's a red squiggly here. Restart language server. Still exists. I think this is the right way to import CSS. Let's go back to the original file. We're pretty sure that's how you import CSS. keep going. Should this is a problem, even though it shouldn't be. That's how you import CSS. I don't know. I'm sure it's my editor. So I'll blame this on Hanzala because he's my editor. Bad joke. Sidebar chat window, that works. That means we're able to connect to the backend. Now the sidebar should show you a list of your existing projects and let you add a new project. So we basically, yeah, here comes the tricky part. Have you ever done gets from the types that we had, incoming messages or whatever we had? No, these are only for creating things on the backend. I also need to get data from the backend, my existing, chats, sessions and workspaces. That means I've actually underestimated the kind of messages that we need. We need like a bunch of messages. When the user connects, we need to show them all the workspaces and the projects inside. So let's do that. Let's add another outgoing .ts message. Export type connection response. Can simply be a type for now. It needs to have sessions. So that has all the sessions that the user has. So an array of, sorry, not sessions. Let's do workspaces, which is an array of workspace with the session. So something like this. Type workspace is going to be the name of the workspace, which is a string, the path to the workspace, which is a string, and sessions, which is an array of session. You can probably get these from Prisma directly. I'm not doing that, but I probably should to avoid repeating a bunch of logics, because we already defined this in the Prisma schema. It exports some types. We can actually just import them directly. Session looks something like this. ID string, conversation, so like messages, which is an array of message. Which have we defined a message type until now? No, we should though. This is the extremely complex message that goes into the database, which means its schema can be very complex. User message very simple. Agent message can get very tricky. So this we will spend a lot of time on. Abhi ke liye we'll keep it simple. Type message equal to either role user, and then simply payload is as simple as message string. But if it is role assistant, things get very tricky. Then it can be a lot of things. The payload can basically any for now, but any is probably not the best thing to put here. We will have to see what kind of messages come, and then we'll define this type over time. All right, this looks good to me. Yeah, that should be fine. Now let's go back to, okay, what is this type in the schema.prisma? Where is the schema.prisma? We don't have a schema yet. We probably do. We don't. Hold on, we never defined the schema. I could have sworn the schema is already defined. Let me go back to the video. Fucking idiot. Mongoose schemas we have defined, MongoDB. So we'll go back to, I would assume models.ts then. No, db/index.ts. There we go. Yeah, what do you look like? All right, sounds good. So what we could have actually used Prisma with Mongoose. That should have been a better approach. We'll refactor it later. It's all good. But a message right now, excuse me, is an object. So that's great. Let's go back to incoming.ts. Sorry, index.ts in WebSocket, or maybe user.ts. Yeah. When the user connects, so that's right here. User manager. Add user, there we go. Here we should do a WS, as soon as the user connects, we need to send them their initial state. So ws.send Ooh. I guess that's fine. Dot send JSON dot stringify type init. What was outgoing.ts? It looked something like connection response. So it will go like this, or type init and then workspace, array of workspaces. Perfect. Where did it go? That happened so quickly. There we go. Something like this. And here we need to basically return the user type init, and workspaces would be something we get from the database. So let me do a quick DB call here. Await workspace dot find workspace model ही तो होगा dot find many. LSP isn't helping. Yeah, dot find many ही होता है, I think. Find many, basically everything, right? Workspace will have all the workspaces. No, you already also need the underlying sessions. Let's do this. Const work spaces equal to this thing. Find all of them, but we need to, we need to also fetch the data inside the respective sessions. So basically you'll get all the workspaces and the corresponding sessions. Let's see how you do that in Mongoose. I know how to do that in Prisma, but unsure how to get the underlying graph. I'm sure there's like an easy way to do it. Get document and references Mongoose. Dot populate. There we go. That should do it. Dot populate. Actually, it'll be like the other way around, I would assume. Book has an author. Yeah, it'll be the other way around. I guess that is fine, or just individually get them then, I guess. Get all the workspaces, get all the sessions, await works session model dot find all of them, and now somehow merge them probably, or send them to the front end as such. Let's merge them. So const the actual response, response, which is going to be a workspace array, where workspace comes from the type we had just defined. This one right here. Common, I think. Equal to array, and then are you guys in the mood of some data structures and algorithms? Yeah, that will be this thing. Let's do workspaces. Response is good. For W in workspaces, for S in session. Wait, do some DSA here. Put a hash map. You can make this faster. If S dot workspace dot for let W in workspaces and let S in session. So my LSP is so slow right now. I see so many red squigglies. If S dot sessions work what's the type of S? It's a string. How? Workspace. Yeah, there we go. Why is it object ID array? Response dot push ID w dot underscore ID, probably dot toString, and then what else do we have here? ID and then name and then path. So basically all three of the things. Name and then path, w dot path, and then sessions, which is an empty array, and then it's a problem here. Why is w a string? Oh, I guess this is like a different iterator. Yeah. How do I iterate over all the rows here? अरे यार नॉर्मल यार होना तो चाहिए था. चलो कोई नहीं. For let और w dot for each कर ले. Spaces dot for each w. This thing, no type errors this time, looks fine. And same thing here, sessions dot for each s. If s dot workspace equal to this thing, then you do a const sessions equal to empty array, and then you do a sessions dot push ID s dot ID payload payload message string. Probably put an ID here. Role would be, do we have a role there? We should, if we don't already in our database. We should have a role here. It'll be an enum. So I don't know if you can do a mongoose dot types dot enum. Enum in mongoose. Yeah, I would really switch to Prisma at this point. Just make it a little easier. Enum type string enum something. There we go. User or assistant. All right. Sessions equal to empty array, and then this will be an array of session which comes from here. Ugh. Yeah, not easy, guys. Session array, and then session dot for each this thing. If dot workspace, if the workspace array workspace doesn't exist. Dot ID और मैसेज दो ही चीज़ें हैं दोस्त. व्हाट द हेल. डिफाइन तो किया था. Is it the other way around? Session has a workspace which has this type, which is a reference to this thing. Why don't I see dot? Okay, hold on a second. Dot populate workspace, and let's try now. Oh, it's not being used, is it? Such an idiot. ऑब्जेक्ट आईडी array क्यों है यार, ये लेफ्ट वाली चीज़. I mean, I'm pretty sure we need 0 here, but that is not the best way. You should like debug why it's an array. I'm going to ignore it for now though. And this should simply just be session dot push id and then messages. There you go. That should hopefully do it. ये था ना सेशन में क्या है, role conversation, sorry, not this one. A session has id and messages. There you go. Type is weird because right side is unknown, but that is fine. That should do it. This should become final sessions. And type is incorrect, that is fine. And then basically need to do something like this. Cool. Hopefully that is correct. Wait, some DSA here and make it more optimal. Add user function will aggregate the workspaces and the sessions and the messages for the user, send it back to the user, so that the user's sidebar and everything can be populated. Let's confirm, does that work? Let me restart the backend. Let me go back here. Let me start. Oh, sorry, 3001. Sidebar, chat bar, and if I look at the WebSocket connection, I get back init and workspace is empty because right now I've just not initialized the project. Now we should let the user select a project here, add more things. That should be easy enough. We already have the messages for it. We send too many connections. As you can see, we have 4 connections. We should debug why that is. Probably related to strict mode in React. Either way, now that this is done, I need to add a button to the sidebar to add a new workspace, a button to the side to add a new chat bar. Problem is, when you have a button to the left, right, users should see like a folder view of their machine. Okay, ये folders exist करते हैं, so that they can select a folder and create a workspace on it. That would require a little more back and forth between the backend WebSocket server and the front end. Let me think through this. I think there's an easier way of the user just posting the folder, pasting the folder they want to create the session in or the workspace in. That's an easier approach for now, but we should be able to create a navigatable tree-like structure also fairly easily. Let me decide. I think I'll just go with pasting the workspace path. I'll just expect the user to paste the workspace path. Let's get into that next. Let's try to finish the sidebar that lets the user add a workspace, add a session, send a chat message. All right, I'm going to go with a simple approach for now, which is app.tsx. The sidebar, which is this guy right here. Let me just create this as a separate component. Maybe here is fine. Oh, oopsie daisy. You should probably create some sort of a context which contains everything. So let me create a new folder called context, which has a new file called let's just call it it's just the overall context, so app context .tsx const app context equal to context react.create context, I think, and the initial values are going to look something like what will the initial values be? It will have basically sessions, which is an empty array, and it'll eventually get filled. Export. Been a while since I've written contexts in React. Thing that is fine, and then yeah, there we go. It should be fine. Yeah, that sounds good. So what we want to do now is wrap our application inside the context. So I'm going to put the app context.provider here, with the value set to sessions empty, and then whenever the WebSocket responds back, so something like this, it's probably bad practice, but can you just do it here directly? I could, I mean, I would want to do it here directly. The context gets manipulated from there directly, but okay, let's just not do that for now. Anytime socket or loading changes, if loading is not true, that means the socket has initialized, and socket.on message data. Let me just log data for now, or if I think it should be as simple as data dot const parsed data equal to JSON dot parse data. So this is the data that comes from the backend, and the initial data we're going to get is going to have something like user manager is going to look something like this. So dot type equal to init is when we know for a fact the data that is come back is of this format. Const workspaces equal to parsed data dot workspaces, which is going to be an array of workspace which comes from common, which I haven't added as a dependency yet. So let me quickly do that. Think commons and import from commons / types cd dot dot one install cd apps where front end right now we have the workspace or workspace array. There we go. Now we can simply set it in the context variable, right? So it shouldn't be sessions actually. This should be workspaces, and the type of this is going to be workspaces workspace array workspaces, and here I'm going to simply say set workspaces, and here I'm going to say const workspaces comma set workspaces equal to use state empty array of workspace array. And let me just do this. Value equal to workspaces. Beautiful. That should pass workspaces down, and maybe the socket object should also be part of the app context. Yeah, I don't mind that. Initially it will be null. What's the problem here? Oh, it's socket. Do we need the socket later? We probably do, yeah, to send a message, right? Yeah, that should be fine. So let's just do this. Comma socket. Beautiful. That should provide us socket here. We can simply get it from the context. Const socket comma the other thing, which is workspaces, equal to use context app context, and then it's as simple as return div, iterate over all the workspaces, and just show them in a accordion like sidebar format. Great. The second thing is letting the user create a new workspace. So let's do that. Let's add an input box, type equal to text, where the user gives us the name of the folder and maybe, yeah, the name of the folder, that's it. As the input, they press submit and then a new workspace is created for them if it doesn't already exist. Here we're going to send the second type of message. So it's going to be a socket.send json.stringify. What we want here is the second guy. So yeah, just go to outgoing.ts and you'll know, which is going to be create workspace. So for created schema, incoming. Create workspace schema simply has the path, which is going to be whatever is in here. Placeholder equal to path, and then const path comma set path equal to use state empty array, and then on change equal to set path e dot target dot value, and that should probably do it. Cool. Yeah, when you click on the button, it sends the request. You'll get back a response from here. Yeah. Response थोड़ा घूम के आएगा दोस्त. That is not great. You tell the backend that you want to create a new workspace. The backend is going to respond back. And unfortunately, the response will come here. So यहाँ से we need to do that. Yeah, which is like fine, I guess. What we can do is let's add set workspaces also to the context. Something like this. And what we are going to do now is there's probably a better type here that you should figure out. Let's make it null for now, but here it will be this thing. And now when you send the message, you can actually right before set workspaces to ..w comma one new workspace with the path set to what's the problem here? Probably the type, right? Path set to the path that the user set. Also set path null, or whatever, empty string. And you're waiting for a response from the server for this. The ID can be null for now, even though I think type wouldn't allow it. Yeah, how is the type allowing it? ID, name, path, and sessions, right? Path is the only thing I provide. Oh, this is any, that's why. Makes sense. अब आईडी घूम के आएगी दोस्त. तो whenever you receive the message, you basically find the one which has null and set it. So what we're going to do now is incoming should return not just the path but the created, not create, created name, and what else? Do you need anything else? No, that's can get back the path, it's fine. Something like this. And now wherever we do send this data back, which is in user probably, handle incoming message, we should send back not just, where is the first one? There we go. Not just the ID, but the path, workspace dot path, and then a name, which is workspace dot name, ID path name. That should do it. What's the problem here? Outgoing message type. Outgoing message type. Workspace created. Oh, that's just wrong. type and payload. This was incorrect in the first place. Cool. Yeah, assume this would exist. All right. Cool. That's the first one. You should fix the others as well. They were incorrect from the beginning. This should also return type session created and followed by the payload. It's a problem here. It is never create the problem here. That should do it. Oh. New object ID mongoose dot types dot object ID and import mongoose from mongoose. Mongoose dot types dot object ID. Small d. That's what she said. ये ref multiple क्यों है? वहाँ पे भी यही problem थी. Maybe I'm not putting refs correctly here. Time for a little bit of a sidetrack. This will work, but किसी तरीके से वो array बन गया for some reason. db/index.ts. Oh ये है array दोस्त. क्या किया है तुमने किरत भाई? A session belongs to a single workspace, right? Why did I create an array in the first place? I was just wrong. Now it is correct. This is also correct. Session created is correct. And then the same thing over here. The third one would be type message added payload id1. Where id1? Oh yeah, because you have to talk to the agent. Never mind. Cool. That should be fine. Looks good to me. And one more thing, which is एक जगह हम और zero use कर रहे थे, अब मुझे याद आ गया, which was this thing right here, no, user manager. Now we can fix this as well, जो बीच में हम error दिखा था. If workspace equal to w.id. Perfect. And that is fine. And what is the problem here? Should be fine. Cool. Now, if I go back here, when you receive a message and if parsed data.type equal to not init this time, but the second type of message, which is workspace created, then you have the payload which has these three things. So what I want to do now is set workspaces w.map workspaces.map w if w.id equal to null, तो that means ये इसी का response आया है. So return .w comma dot parsed data dot payload else return w. So what this will do is वो घूम के data जो आएगा that will get added to the workspace. So the now workspace will have like a proper name, ID, etc. on the front end, and it will just render at the bottom. So great, I think that should do it. Set workspace to null, and then backend से जब आएगा तो it will get filled. Set path to empty socket.send this thing. That should do it. I think so. I think we have written the logic to create a workspace and see the answer in real time. So let's put it to the test. Backend is up. Front end is up. Oh. Update hook called initial rendered more hooks than the previous render. कुछ तो bug है guys. Infinite for loop. Change in the order of up to this कुछ तो गलती की है दोस्त. Time to good interview question at this point. Yeah, यही है guys. You can't do this. Yeah, there we go. अब तो कुछ proper error है. These are not parsed. Okay, it is an object already. I think. क्या है? Expected or okay, that's fine. So it's just going to be the data, or I can simply call this parsed data. Beautiful refresh. There you go. Empty array, and then let me add a path, like a valid path. So this is a valid path to a folder. ये जो मैंने front end break किया था. And after I click on submit, जो एक button है that I have not given any text to, so let me give it some text. Submit. So this is the path. If I click on submit, there we go. Path this thing ID null. घूम के नहीं आया यार. Let's go to the network tab and see. 1 2 3 4 भेजा ही नहीं हमने तो यार. We didn't send any data only. Firstly, why are there 4, man? Let's remove strict mode from main.tsx index.tsx.tsx. Come on. Where is strict mode? There we go. Let me remove this. Now let's see how many WebSocket connections we make. Still make 2 for some reason. Okay. And when I give it a path and click on submit, कोई मैसेज जाता नहीं है for some reason, या जाता है. नया WebSocket connection बनता है. Every time I submit, it creates a new WebSocket connection. That means I have a very big bug somewhere. Not even a small one, very big bug. I think I see. Use socket. True. Socket false. Oh. Yeah, that's a problem. That was the problem. I think we have a solution. Still have 2 which I need to figure out why. But let me submit now. Submit तो हो गया. फर्स्ट वाले से जा भी रहा है, घूम के वापस नहीं आ रहा है. प्रॉब्ली बिकॉज वो पाथ वैलिड नहीं वाला, बट नहीं जा रहा है बस. ओ पाथ भेजोगे दोस्त. यू ओनली सेंड द पाथ, नॉट द फुल मैसेज. व्हाट इज द रियल मैसेज? इट इज go to outgoing. This is exactly why incoming. This is exactly why we added these types, right? What we need to send is this type create workspace, and then the payload is going to be whatever. So something like this. Fresh, and this time wait for it, submit. Every time I submit it, now again creates a new connection. Socket.send create workspace, submit. अब चल गया. Type create workspace payload path this thing. This time it should be fine. I can't think of why this is wrong. Let's look at the backend. User sent non-JSON input. अब तो नहीं आ रहा होगा ये, अब तो नहीं आ रहा है ये, तो why is it? Always love the process of debugging, guys. I would log it. Add user, ये रहा. Catch में तो नहीं आया, तो यहाँ तक आया. Refresh, path, submit. बहुत बढ़िया मैसेज आया यहाँ पे यार. Create workspace. हैंडल इनकमिंग मैसेज. क्रिएट वर्क स्पेस यहाँ आना चाहिए, रिटर्न होना चाहिए, वापस जाना चाहिए. console.log response payload. Don't you love it? The good old days when you had to debug like this. Now you just ask an AI to do it. Refresh, put a path. Oh yeah. Click on submit and okay. User connection, create workspace. User sent a non-JSON formatted input. How? Incorrect schema तक तो मुझे समझ आता, but input तो सही है दोस्त. Let's see. Yeah. Enter, and then submit. Yeah. Okay. Submit. Path is something. Okay, no, still. I don't know actually. Let's see. Submit. User send non-JSON format input. There is an error that gets thrown. Oh, can I? Of course, here. Actually, ये log हटाओ यार. It is just misleading. And let's just log the error here. This will tell you the actual error, and it's probably just parsing error. I'm not sending the right thing from the front end. Let's try it now. अरे यार reconnect logic नहीं है. Submit, and now the error is incorrect schema. Exactly what I was hoping for. What schema do you expect, sir? Handle incoming message. Create workspace schema. Which is this thing, not wave part message. अरे यार कीरत भाई, so bad. Dot payload ना, यहाँ पे भी dot payload होगा, यहाँ पे भी dot payload होगा. So bad. That is why you write tests. All right, one more time. /users/something and then submit. And this time everything looks good, green, and then hard refresh. /users/ ये socket का issue देखते हैं front end का. Submit, looks good. If I look at the first one, I sent a message, I got back a response, and then that response doesn't translate here though. Why? Why would that be? app.tsx. If it is equal to workspace.created, which is the one that we're looking at, set workspaces, if w.id equal to null, which is the case here, then return .w partial.payload. That looks actually perfect to me. What's the problem here? यार ये वही पार्स पूछ करना है क्या इसको? ये पार्स तो नहीं करना. डॉट हाई इसको लॉग करना गाइस. console.log parsed data. Refresh. Put some path. Click on submit. Look at the logs. It is a message event. It has a lot of things. भाई तेरे क्या वो है, इवेंट ही आता है सीधा. ओके, डॉट डेटा था क्या? अरे क्रेजी यार, तो ये अभी तक चला कैसे? अच्छा ये चल ही नहीं रहा था. लो जी, नाउ इट विल वर्क. रिफ्रेश, put a path, click on submit, refresh, अरे अभी भी नहीं चला, put a path, submit, फिर घूम के नहीं आया, कितनी गलत बात है। क्रिएट वर्क स्पेस घूम के भी आया, अब तो लॉग में देखो, लॉग किया ही नहीं, कंसोल डॉट ओ पार्स डेटा डॉट डेटा, रिफ्रेश, सबमिट, ओके। अब स्ट्रिंग निकली ना, वेरी गुड। तो यार कुछ सिंपल ही रखना था, ऐसे मैं बताता हूँ, कॉन्स्ट parsed data equal to json dot parse ev dot data। अब देखो जादू, there we go, so many things already created, everything very well। अब नहीं चला, नहीं चला, अब चल गया, अब लोडिंग, चलो चल गया, लोडिंग, फिर नहीं चला, जबकि आता है बट ओवरराइड हो जाता है। So we now need to very strongly figure out why the socket gets initialized twice. That means this effect probably gets called twice. Effect called. Refresh. How many times? Only once. And whenever this happens, which is fine. That reloads this and this, and that is fine. This probably happens only once. Console.log hi, refresh. Do we see a hi? I don't see a hi. Console log hello. I see a hello, I don't see a hi. I still see two connections, but the first one closes and वो दूसरे में इशू कर देता है। But why two man? Why two? अच्छा, एक बार लोडिंग, एक बार सॉकेट, इसको सिंपल रखो यार, ऐसे रखो। अब रिफ्रेश नहीं, बट कनेक्शन फिर भी दो हो रहे ना। वाई, हाउ डू आई कनेक्ट ट्वाइस जब यूज सॉकेट एक बार कॉल हो रहा है, अनलेस दिस इज गेटिंग कॉल्ड more than one place? How do we have multiple socket connections? Basically this line of, okay, let's make it even simpler, null, and then const ws equal to new ws dot onOpal equal to this thing set ws. That looks fine to me. WebSocket or null. Let's see if that fixes it. Okay, I see one only now. I see it work. I wanted to say consistently, but let's see. Refresh works. Refresh नहीं चला, तीन में से एक बार चल रहा है। Only reason can be the backend is not responding. I can't think of any other reason. Is the backend up? Okay, backend is up. Mongoose is connected. Everything is good. Let's put this on the left. Let's put this on the right. Refresh. Oh, कुछ तो फटा. We just deprecation warning. Okay, I do get back the response, but the callback handler is not. Oh, I think I know. I think I might know. ये ना रजिस्टर, हाँ उसके होने से पहले हो गया ना. That makes sense. That makes so much sense. Message came much before the socket got initialized. So to fix that, oh boy, open करने के बाद मत करो ना ये आप. You can simply do this. Yeah, that should do it. Still a possibility of it happening, but won't happen as often. Yeah, there you go. Consistent now. Consistent. Cool. Now we have, we see all the sessions on the left. I can add a new path, /users /harkirat /projects /123, submit, and I do see it here with its ID. If I refresh, I still see it here. None of them have sessions right now, but sessions should be easy to add. It should, just be another button over here. When I click on that button, a new session gets added and a chat window gets opened on the right. So we have a sidebar, even though I totally get it's like an ugly looking sidebar. An ugly looking sidebar, a chat window on the right, messages getting exchanged between front end and back end. Now we need to add session wala. Okay, whenever I click on one of these, a chat window should open, or when I click on one of these, an accordion should drop down, and then I can create a new session there. And when I create a new session, again backend se response aata hai, and then we see a chat window over here. I'm going to wipe code this one, guys. Should be very easy. We anyways need to clean the front end. So I'm going to now write a very clean and simple prompt, which is, we don't need this model. Let's keep, actually this one's fine. Let's finish the front end for creating sessions and adding a user message. No need to finish the agent layer yet. I've already added the logic to create a new workspace. On the front end, they should look like button accordions, which when I click on a session, a workspace, I should see the existing sessions of that workspace. I should be allowed to create a new session for that workspace. If I send a chat message, it should get stored in the DB. So the right side will have the current active session I have clicked on. Perfect. DB, no need to add any agent yet. Beautiful. Keep the code structure similar. Single app.tsx file. Add minimal tailwind so it looks slightly better than right now. Dark mode, please. Cool. Let's see what magic it does. All right, let's continue. Seems like Devon did its thing. Trying to start the front end bundev, start the backend bundev or bunindex.ts. Let's see what things look like on port 3001. Cool, that looks good enough. That's exactly what I wanted. Let me add the very first workspace, which is going to be this folder itself. We need like a better file aggregator here, but this is fine for now. Add code. Creating shouldn't take this long to create unless MongoDB isn't running. So let me see. Probably a lot of things running here. Amongst these, is there MongoDB somewhere? There isn't, so let's do that. Docker run Mongo. Let's try that one more time. The backend crashed because MongoDB wasn't up. Something's running on 3000 now. Oh, hold on. What is running on 3000? Let's kill whatever is running on 3000. Let's run it again. And now Mongo's connected. Let me refresh. Get the folder. Paste it here. Add, and got added. Let me add a new session. It just says session 1. I should be able to name sessions, but this is fine. Let me type hi, click on send, and it does send. If I refresh, I see add code, I see session, I see hi. Let me type hello, refresh, add code, hi, hello. Alrighty. That means we're done with everything minus the agent layer. Now we need messages on the other side as the agent does its thing. And yeah, we just need to relay them back to the front end, right? This is where we get into the AI parts, the interesting parts for the day. How do you run, put like a model selector here, let the user select a specific model from one of many providers, be it Codex or Claude Code. and then let the user use the Claude Code or Codex agent through this newly created fancy UI that we have, that you can eventually, tunnel, create a front end out of, use it from your phone, etc., etc. How do you convert your local machine into a remote supercomputer? Let's get into that next. Let's add the Claude Code agent because I have Claude Code subscriptions. Let's add the Claude Code agent using their SDK next. All right, thankfully, Claude Code, even Cursor and Codex, all three of them have SDKs that you can use, specifically TypeScript SDKs, to basically run Claude Code using TypeScript, which is exactly what we want. We do not want to run it inside a terminal. We literally want the agent SDK running so that all the messages can be intercepted in the TypeScript layer. So what we want is this first thing over here. If you're building an agent without implementing the tool loop yourself, use the agent SDK, a library that runs your agent loop in your own process. So our process is going to be the Node.js TypeScript process in Python or TypeScript, specifically this thing right here. So what we need is the TypeScript agent SDK. Let's see where we can find the docs. Agent SDK quick start. All right, let's add Anthropic/Claude agent SDK. Let's look at the docs. I don't think we need this. You need the Anthropic API key if the machine you're running the code on is not already logged into Claude Code, does not already have a Pro or a Max subscription. I already have a Pro subscription. Most people that are using Superset or T3 Code already have a subscription, and hence we don't necessarily need this. We just need to, use this query function that comes from at Anthropic/Claude agent SDK, and yeah, whatever query the user sends, send it to the agent. The agent is going to reply, intercept those messages, send them to the front end, as well as store them in the database. So that sounds easy enough. Let's go back to the back end. We have a WebSocket server, and whenever a user sends a message, which was here, if the message is this one, is when now you need like a bunch of things here. I'll keep things simple for now. You add the user's message, that's fine, and then you run the agent. So right here is where we need the agent, and again, this isn't enough. We need a lot of safety checks here. What if the user sends two messages once after the other? You don't want this same query running twice, and hence it's not as easy as what appears on the screen. But let's slowly build our way up. Update the session, add the message to the database, then probably fetch all the messages from the database. So const messages equal to await what all models did we have, db/index.ts. Messages were part of the session, I would assume, conversation. So session model dot find one, where find by ID also might work. What's the ID? It is this session ID. And then once you have these messages, what goes in the prompt? Well, we don't really need a prompt here. We need like messages or like conversation history, something like that. So is messages an input to query? Let's see. Takes prompt and options as an input. Prompt can be a string or an iteratable SDK user message only. How do you send a lot of messages? Because this looks wrong. This will work for one message, but not for follow-up messages. So I'm sure there is a different function we need to call. Yeah, multi-turn agents with, a session history. What we want is this: work with sessions. How sessions persist across conversation history, when to use, continue, assume, fork, and return to apply, run. Exactly what we need. A session in the conversation history is the conversation history the SDK accumulates while your agent works. It contains your prompt, every tool call the agent made, etc., etc. How much session handling do you need depends on the application shape. Session management comes into play when you have sent multiple prompts that should share context, correct. Within a single query call, the agent already takes as many turns it needs. Permission prompt, ask user questions are all handled in the loop, correct. Continuous human fork. Our options field you set on query. Continue and resume both pick up an existing session and add to it. The difference is how they find the session. Continue finds the session's finds the most recent session. The directory don't track anything, works well. Resume. This is what we want. So what we want is resume. What we want it is what we want it in is TypeScript and not Python, but I'm sure we can find the right answer here. Client.query analyze auth module. Oh, it does contain the same session. How? Oh, options equal to allowed tools. Client captures the client session ID internally. How? Where is client defined? Oh, there we go. Claude SDK client. So is there a similar export in TypeScript? Let's see. Not really. Oh, there we go. My bad. Well, query works. So prompt options, whatever. And then the second one is continue true. Yeah, that isn't great. It resumes the most recent session. We probably need a session ID or something. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Please pass a session ID somewhere. Don't see it. Where are you? Oh, there we go. Resume session ID. Got it. Resume session ID. And maybe that was always the case. No, not here. Use session options with query. Capture session ID. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. The good thing is every session has a corresponding Anthropic session ID. The bad thing is we haven't stored that in the database. So let's do that. What we really need is this. Let's first find if this is a new message, a new session or an old one. This should probably be const. No, actually you can create a session, right? But if the session doesn't already have messages dot length, conversation is 0, if not session, then return or throw an error. Session doesn't exist, and then probably log the session ID as well. Data.session ID. But if it does exist, then if there is no message yet, that means this is the first time we're doing it, is when we need to send a query from scratch with this prompt. Let's start with this, just the query. And when do you get the message ID, the session ID? Session ID, why session ID? Oh, comes much later, but that's fine. So let's do the following. This doesn't matter. We can let this sort of continue, but we will pass a resume, which will be let me think. It'll be either undefined, so session dot conversation dot length equal to 0, and then undefined, else it'll be session dot conversation dot anthropic session ID, which is something we now need at the database level as well, which is a optional string वैसे तो yeah, that should be fine. I mean, it should exist now. Oh, not conversation, sorry. Session dot anthropic session ID. Either undefined or a string. Can also just do this. All right. And if not session dot anthropic this thing, slapped in the result. So somewhere here, session dot anthropic ID equal to, come on, message dot something, session ID. There we go. ये था. If message result and that should be good enough, and then await session dot save. That should do it. Alrighty, that sounds easy enough. If there's no session ID, add it, and then you're good to go. Now in the future, it'll just resume the same conversation, so we're good to go. The thing is, we need to add some sort of a folder here, I would assume, you know, workspace, workdir. It needs to have an option of where exactly this agent needs to run. About controller, agent, continue, current working directory, that should be it. And this needs to be session dot workspace dot path. Let's see. Yeah, it should have been path, right? I'm sure there's a better way to do this. Dot क्या होता था? Aggregate. Yeah, I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but let me just do the wrong way. Workspace equal to await workspace model dot find where find one where the session or ID is session dot workspace, and I'll just put it here. Okay, now we have the workspace, so workspace dot path. There we go. That's the current working directory. What's the problem here? There is a small problem here that we can get rid of by adding a check right here. Beautiful. That looks good. What's the problem here? String or null or undefined? Pretty sure it'll be a string, so I can just assume it does exist. Cool. That's the agent loop. At some point here, we should start putting things in the database. Claude's reasoning tool being called final result. I'm assuming the final result is something we definitely need shown on the front end, right? So message dot result. There we go. So let's do that. This we definitely need to send back to the user, amongst many other things. This agent loop is going to stream back the response to the user, which is where the schema of handle incoming messages needs to change by a lot. Abhi tak, it returns an outgoing message, goes to the user, but now we need to start streaming the response back to the user over here. So let's go back to the user manager. It just does this right now. User.send message, which is this function right here only. So that sounds easy enough. is there an outgoing message type with message added, message type added, and then so we don't have an assistant message yet. Type assistant message and then payload, which is going to be a little more complicated than that. Assistant message added type, assistant message added, which is going to be maybe an ID, but more than that, oh boy, this is going to be like very difficult to describe now. So let's just do a z.ne for now. Yeah, defining its type is going to get weird, so I'm going to stick with this for now. Cool. Now we have one more type of message, which is this one right here, which is the one we're going to send to the user whenever the assistant responds with a message. So that includes this also ideally, the reasoning, the tool calls, and then the final message. But let me just start with the final message. So that's this thing right here. This dot send message, assistant message, again payload would be type result, and then text was message dot result. That should give like a final answer to us. Let me also log it. Yeah, which goes back to the user. We'll have to also go to the database somewhere here. So db or session dot conversation, I think, session model dot, pretty sure it was dot conversation. If not, we will confirm. Oh, sorry, dot update one. We need to push to conversation. So basically the same thing as this guy. Only thing is the role is now assistant and payload is something more complicated. Type result, and let me just stick to message here. All right, so it goes into the database, it goes back to the end user, and now we should have something if this thing works as expected. The prompt, of course, needs to be what the user sent right now. So that's going to be message dot payload dot. If the add message schema type should have add message schema here, so that's a typo. And now that should just be message. There we go. Create add message schema type, and that looks fine to me. Cool. Yeah, that's the user's message that reaches the agent. We iterate over all the messages that the agent sends. We log a few for now, and then the only thing we store in the database and send back to the user is the final success messages, which is fine for now. Eventually, we'll show up the reasoning, the tool calls on the front end as well. Cool, looks easy enough. On the front end, do we need to change anything? And a lot of this code is now, wipe coded, so I'll have to spend some time here. Workspace created, init, session created. There probably needs to be another message type, which is assistant message. There we go. So if parsed data dot type equal to this thing is when, what we're going to get is dot payload is going to return us type and message. And honestly, what I can do is, what can I do? Init, it basically is going to update a session inside a workspace. Did we never have incoming messages? You probably did, right? How does this is the sidebar, that's the chat window. Oh, hold on. The socket here comes from the context, that's fine. Set workspaces, which is in the context, okay. This thing, oh, okay. Dot map s dot id equal to this thing, question mark. This thing, yeah, that sounds right to me. Pushes a new message here. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. So set workspaces, previous workspace, new workspace. With the new message from the assistant payload would be message as any, and this ideally should be something like this. If I should probably have the type here. That's all. Payload would be message and type. This will give me a type error for now, but it does not. Cool. That looks easy enough. That also looks right. Yeah, I think we're fine. We should see the assistant message now. Let's restart the front end. It's the back end, my bad. Oh, see daisy. The front end, go back here, open an existing session. So just another error from these extensions, nothing from our application. Let's see, let's send a hi. And now the assistant should be talking, or you're doing its thing here. Yeah, there we go. The Claude agent said, hi, what are you working on today? Done success. What are you working on today? We sent this message. And do we see the message here? Indeed, we don't. This message should have gone to the database. Or should it have? Where is this log coming from? Probably from send message in index in user.ts send message. No, console. .log, a bunch of things. Done came, and then message.result came, and message.result had. No, this isn't it. What are we logging? Where are we logging? Oh, message dash added. So done did get logged. Done space success. Oh, that's message.result. Should be something else. Message dot. Hi, what are we working on today? Do a lot of things. Result isn't it. We need to log the message now to see what this schema looks like. There are a bunch of problems, but one step at a time. I sent a bad message. A refresh. Select the session. Click on hi. Enter. And now wait for it. Yeah, fat message. Somewhere in this fat message, though, amongst the many things, including usage and all, there's probably the final response. And if oh, there we go. Dot result. So let me copy. That's exactly what I had. Dot result. So what is success? Dot result. So that's fine. This should go to the database, right? I'm not tripping. It should update one where this thing push to conversation, this thing. So now I should see those. Oh, I do see those messages here. If I refresh though, they're just not being streamed. Perfect. Perfect. We're getting there. Hey, here again. That's beautiful. Why are they not being streamed? Type assistant message, this dot send message, and then payload is something. If I go back to the front end, if type is assistant message, then set workspace, existing workspace, a bunch of other things. Let's start off with, do we even get back a message to the front end? Refresh, select, send hi a third time, because third time's a charm. No WebSocket connections only. There we go. Messages, I did get back a assistant dash message response. If I go to the console, it did log as well. Dot payload dot message dot payload dot type. Dot payload dot message dot type, that looks fine. Set workspace, previous dot map. The existing works. Oh, set workspaces. Prev.mapw, return w and sessions dot map as so I go active session ID, then the existing set of messages, and then messages set of messages, comma role assistant. This is thing. That is right. Unless we need something else here. Okay, I got it. Let's see. How do we map over messages? Finally, in the chat window. User, then this thing, else this thing. That looks fine to me. Let's see. Active session dot messages, JSON dot stringify. I don't know what I'm missing. Seems like we have everything. I'll send hello for a fourth time. Hello, hello. So this went. Our response probably came back, never got appended here. So that's like a fairly logical flaw I might have. Send message, that's this thing, socket.send. Control does reach here. Set workspaces, existing workspaces. Actually, a bunch of other things, but they don't really matter. Why can't I just not log workspaces or something like this? Let's see. Let's try it again. But it does have history. It knows that we're just chatting, sending hi again and again. So I sent a hi again, and what I was looking for is the logs on the front end. And if I look at the logs on the front end, sessions 0, messages 11. Yeah, why did it not get appended here? That's a problem. What is the logical flaw here? Nothing seems wrong. Oh. Yeah, I think I know. God damn it, this is like a great React question. Yeah. Can't do that. Actually, this should probably come from the backend itself. Let's do this. Session ID and then session ID and then the backend itself, which is this thing right here, should send amongst the many things the session ID. Which we can get from not here, but here. And then, yeah, that should do it. Fairly logical bug, great interview question. If I was asking someone this interview question, I'd ask them there's a lot of nuances as to what was wrong here and how the thing that fixed it. Hi, followed by wait for it. I've been waiting for a while now. Shit, did not fix it. Oh, have to restart the backend. Of course, I'm such an idiot. Let me do that. And now refresh. Open. Who are you? And then wait for it. Oh, Did not work this time also. That's the second time. They say third time's a charm. Hey, it did not come. Why? Backend. Okay, you store it here, which is not what is needed. You send it here, which is what is needed. Refresh the backend. Third time's a charm, and indeed it is, because now if I go here and say hello. Come on. Oh, there we go. So what is this project about? Tell me briefly. Don't work too hard. What project have I opened? I opened ag code. This is my first session in here, and when I ask it about the project, let's see what it says. It will take some time because I'm assuming it's running a lot of tools right now to read the files, the folders, etc. But there we go. It's a turbo repo named ag code, basically a public TypeScript. That's a bunch of things. I can ask it to go deeper into the code and give me an explanation, but this is great. I'm sending a message, I'm getting back a response. Who are you though? And it'll tell me, I'm Claude Code, an agent helping you, etc. Beautiful. Let me remove the very big JSON dump I have at the top. And this is what it looks like. I can add multiple folders. Every folder has a session. I can create multiple sessions. Let me create a new one actually. Let's see what's up. Hi. And let's see if we get back a response. We do. Just want to talk to you. Great. So that works if you're just sending messages. But the problem is there's a lot of things that happen internally, specifically tool calls, reasoning. These are the two big things actually. So let's also stream those to the front end. The way that can be done is we already have logs. So actually there might have been a few tool calls that happened when I asked it to do this. So tool bash tool read. That's actually good enough for me. There we go. So whenever this happens, we should also send a message to the front end. Okay, what tool call is actually happening. So basically both of these things with, let's say for now, just the exact tool call. So this is going to be this. This is going to be this, and that should do it. That's why this should, let's just say type tool. And reasoning, let's ignore for now. So anytime it is doing a tool call, we're going to send it to the front end, store it in the database. With the type set to tool, and on the front end, what we can do is the type did come here. We did put it here, which means we can get it here. Messages, there we go. Message, that should be good enough. What I want to do now is, if it is a tool call, I want it to be in the center of the screen, something like that. Yeah, this is where I would really want to use. Yeah, I can't. So I'll just do this div. It's like a bad way to do it. But again, I'm the worst person when it comes to CSS. So I'm just going to do it the worst way. Class name equal to flex. Something like this actually. Message.type. Actually, it'll just be m.type, I would assume. Payload.type. Payload.type equal to tool, and then it'll be flex. Hold on. Question mark flex justify center else empty. What this will do is it will centrally align this message. I repeat, it will centrally align this message if it's a tool call message. So now if I do restart the backend first, refresh, go to one of the sessions and ask it, hi, what is this project about? I would expect to see certain tool calls. Yeah, tool bash, great. Tool read, great. Tool bash, I would Again, this I expected this to be at the center of the screen. Did not happen. So I have this probably a bug somewhere. Let's see. Oh, there you go. That's what said. Okay, perfect. I know what to do. Let's see. What I want is if m dot payload question mark dot type equal to tool, then it needs to be justify center, else it needs to go through the whole process. I can actually get rid of this as well as this. Alrighty, it's running better. Yeah, there we go. Tool calls happen in the center, and then messages happen on the left. Other type of messages happen on the right. Beautiful. Should probably do this tool, and then I should remove tool from the backend message. So that's this guy right here. We should also provide, some extra information about the tool here. So let me just log the block. I mean, if it's the file that's been read, it might be a good idea to actually see, but we'll get there when we get. This is good enough. Let me add a third session here. Add code, another session. Hi, can you tell me what this code is about? Question mark. And expect it to read a few files and then tell me. So a bash tool. Read tools. Great. I would expect to see, the file names here, etc. But now I have a very interesting idea in my head. So let's just finish and then I'll go and do it. Reads a bunch of files. That's a lot of reads, which is expected. It's fine. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is, and this is an interesting idea. I already have a chat UI that can probably fix projects. So the things that I want to fix, why can't I just ask it to fix those? For example, I need to see read file, write file properly here. Kaun si file read hui, which file was read, which file was written to, what is the exact bash tool. So I'll ask it, can you change the backend user.ts to return more information about the tool that is being called? If it is read file, then it should actually show the name of the file read / contents. On the front end, the tool message should become an accordion, so I can expand to see the file read / written to. Now I have created a project that I'm using to improve the project, which is an interesting inception sort of a thing. I asked it, KR, tu ek project hai, you are a project, and I want you to fix yourself. So it's very close to like self-improving agents. The whole, I mean, if you've ever seen the Pi code base, this has been their thesis as well. You can use Pi to improve Pi. So now that we have ag code, we can use ag code to improve ag code. Let's see if that actually happens though. Bunch of reads, bunch of writes. I'm sure this is not going to be easy. Bunch of reads yet, no writes, but I'm sure a write is coming. I can smell a write coming, guys. edit tool called, guys. That means that's the first file that we're editing. All right. It made a few changes in the backend, made a few changes in the front end. I don't see an accordion here, which is not great, but I'm assuming that's because these are the old type of messages. Let me restart the backend, refresh, open the third session, and then can you tell me what this project does now after reading a few files? So hopefully it does a few tool calls now, and this time the tool calls actually have some payload associated to them that we can see through an accordion. No read files happened. It already read through everything. Okay, the new one. What does this project do? Hopefully it reads a few files now. There we go, a bash tool, the command that ran, the output that came, a read file, the file path, etc., the bash tool. Beautiful, this is exactly what I needed. So I asked it a question, it did a bunch of tool calls, it's going to give me a response. Exactly what we needed, guys. The best part, this was a self-improving agent. I asked it to do something, it ended up improving itself, which is beautiful. What else can I ask it to do? There we go. We need like a better renderer here. Message renderer here is really bad. For example, if the message is ये बहुत confused जाएगा ना. For example, if the message is this thing, then it should render like proper markdown. Please add that fix to the front end. So now I'm asking this agent to improve itself to basically just render this correctly. It does a bash tool call to probably read a few files. Yeah, it reads app.tsx. It does a grep. It finds tailwind through the project. Tries something that fails. Reads through global.css. Reads through more files. It probably doesn't need those. And then eventually I need your approval. Approved. I don't think I can do that, can I? We need like an auto approve button over here probably. Yeah. I thought I had approval on or something. Hold on. Query. Oh, I did not. Auto up accept edits is done. What all permission mods exist? Bypass permissions. That's exactly what I need. Yeah, I just restart the backend with that. Let me do that. Let me restart the backend and then now ask it to try now, and should now be able to run these commands because I have all approvals given. There we go. It is running, even though it's like the command failed, but it is running, which is what we needed. It wasn't as difficult of a command that I gave it though. I don't know why it's reading through so much of the code base. Anyways, we'll see if it does fix it eventually. Beauty. Front end crashed because it was trying to improve the front end while the front end was running, and then it's imported a few files that I just need to uninstall, which is like basically restart the front end. Downsides of running a self-improving agent. I think we're pretty close, if not there. Let's see, actually, we should know. Not done yet. Let's go to the backend. There we go, done. So now if I refresh and open a message which was Markdown originally, it doesn't appear like Markdown. Oh, sorry, it does. This appears like Markdown. My messages don't, which is fine. But now, there we go. This is what it looks like. So Markdown does appear like Markdown, and great, what we wanted was achieved. Now I can add probably a real project. So let me pick one from my machine. What do I have? Like a lot of projects. I was trying to do like Trello recently. Trello School. This is like a school Trello project. So let me add that here. Let me add a new session here. Hi, what does this project do? We need like a loader here. We need a loader here as well. Which I can probably tell this guy. So, can you add a loader when the user sends a message but doesn't yet receive the first response until the very close to how Claude Code does it, with some proverbs, etc. So while this is running, let me go back here. This is a school Trello project. Man, it rendered a table correctly, which is great. Yeah, pretty much it, man. Ask it to. This is like Claude Code at the power of your hands. And the better part is I can actually run this on my phone if I want. And basically control my local Claude Code using my phone, and then eventually Codex, Devin, whatever CLI you use, cursor. That's the high level, purpose of building something like this. Right now it's Claude only, but again, very easy to add a model over here, a selector over here, and then select one of many other models. Cool. Let's go back here and see if there's some progress here. What happens when I move across sessions? Should be fine, right? I'll still receive all the new messages, I think. Yeah, I think so. I think we have that logic. Even if I move across sessions, I should still see all the new set of incoming messages. Yeah, there we go. Right file, and now hopefully the front end is updated. App context.tsx updated. Go back here. This is the downside of editing the project through an AI that you're currently running. So of course we'll see this, but it's all good. Cool. Yeah, there's a thinking indicator that I added. Lovely. There you go. I see an indicator. Beautiful. What does this project do? Puzzling. Great. Exactly what we needed, guys. We are good to go. The next set of to-dos, if I were to pursue this application, would be number one, add model selector. Number two, add provider selector. Number three, and this is like probably, there are a few parts here. Number one, Codex. You probably have to, go through the code base. I think they do have an SDK also, which might work. Or you can just go to the code base of Codex and understand how to, start the agent. Devin has ACP. So basically you start an ACP server, agent context communication protocol, I think, which you can use to spawn and basically do whatever the Claude SDK was doing right now. And then cursor agent SDK. Basically what we did for Claude Code, but for the rest of the three providers. Anything else to add here? I mean, there's a lot more you can do, right? Usage, metrics, work trees. We haven't created our own work trees. We don't need to because Claude Code will do it for us, but might not be the worst idea in the world. It's very close to what Superset does. Maybe, just maybe, plugins. So, let user add something like GStack at the Superset level or, our app level, so that every individual project gets like similar skills, etc. That might be good. This is like a good set of follow-ups to do next. Yeah, the best part is you can actually just ask the agent to do it. So just go to the agent and ask it to improve itself, and it probably should. Yeah, I think I'll end it here. Hopefully this was an insightful video. How can you create something like Superset? A bunch of features left, but I'm assuming these are like simpler ones. There might be individual nuances as to how does this happen in Devin Cursor Codex. But barring that, hopefully you understood well mostly how to create a CRUD app and then how to use the agent SDK to run the user's Claude Code on their machine. I'm assuming it's very simple to create a mobile app, a desktop app, a remote control app on your phone, so that you can actually control the agents on your machine from anywhere around the world if you don't have access to your laptop, but your laptop is on. Which was the goal of the video. Hopefully you learned something new from it. I will end it here and hope that some of you actually, go through these to-dos and make it better. With that, we'll end it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.